Hello friends, welcome back to Random Hearts. Today we're in the backyard and it is the first week of October. We're actually pushing into the second week of October and we still have not frozen, which is crazy to me. We are almost a month past our first frost date, and that's glorious for produce and things that are continuing to grow, but things have slowed down and you will see that we are just not getting the warm enough daytime temperatures, and the sun is not in the sky long enough for things to grow much longer. And so even though our temperatures are okay, they're not warm enough for this produce to continue growing. So I'm going to go ahead and take our pumpkins today. We did get down to 35 this morning, and actually a couple of my neighbors said they had frost. I did not. So I have not lost anything to frost yet. So I'm going to pull my pumpkins and we're going to take the vines out of the ground. We're also going to be taking some of our tomatoes, and I might be throwing out some tomato vines. So over the next couple of days, you might see my clothes change. We are going to be pulling most of the garden out because we did have snow in the forecast next week. They have downgraded that at this point, but it's still getting very low and close enough to the point where I'm not going to take that chance. I decided to begin with my pumpkin over here because it is in the worst shape that I think I've ever seen a pumpkin or a squash vine. This was hit pretty hard with hail the other day, and you can see it's got a lot of powdery mildew on it. And so it's not been doing super well. You'll notice that I have quite a few of these little yellow ones. I did decide to keep them. I have about 4 or 5 of those. And I had been watching them, but because of the way our house is positioned and we have a mountain kind of behind us, we're in the shadow of a hill, we are not getting a lot of sunlight on this portion of the yard right now. So everything else looked good. These bright orange ones were perfectly ripe, and I did get a pretty good amount of pumpkins off of this one single vine. So I'm going to keep cutting on this vine, getting it out of this space. I just got to watch my head because there is a tree with guide wires above me. So I'll just continue with this. And that is our main stalk. That is where that whole big plant came from. I got all of the pumpkin vine out of the ground. That was, I said, one plant, and it definitely changes the look of this space pretty drastically. I did clean up the zinnias just a bit. They're still doing quite well. In fact, we still have new blossoms coming on. So depending on how our weather is doing, we might get zinnias for a little while. As I begin working with the tomato plants here, I am realizing that these 3 pots have kind of grown together. They were never meant to stay this way, but we left them that way because they could get lawn water. They could get oversprayed from the sprinkler system. These were not on drip. So that center plant is the beefsteak tomato. That one is no longer producing, and so I am getting that one out of there, trying not to destroy the grape tomatoes on the sides. They were actually growing pretty heavily into its support system. There may be 2 or 3 tomatoes on that entire plant, and it just was ready to come out. So I'm just going to take all the grape tomatoes I can off of the vine right now. Anything that's showing any signs of ripeness. I do have a lot of little tomatoes still coming on this, but as you'll see in a minute or two when we flip around to the other side of this plant, it was not as mild of a night as I had originally thought, and you'll see that I do find some frost damage. So we'll flip around in a second and see that. All right, so I actually do have some signs of frost damage. This plant right here, this tomato plant, must be in an area that is not quite as protected. And so it does have frost damage just on this side of the plant. The rest of the plant is actually looking very good. So, and there's even parts of the plant like right here that are still healthy looking. These are the 5-star grape tomatoes from Johnny Seeds. I did have to restart the plants earlier this spring. My first set did not do well in the house, so I had to start another set later in like May, and they have just been so prolific. They have produced so much fruit, and it's very tasty. Yep, this would be another sure sign that we have actually gotten cold enough for the marigolds to get nipped. So it's just this small section right here. It didn't kill them, it just nipped them. Well, this is what I got out of the garden tonight. I've got quite a few tomatoes here. Some large tomatoes, some peppers. Those are the hot and heavy right there. And these are jalapeno. I did not pull my green peppers yet. I'm going to watch those. Tonight's temperature is not supposed to be very cold, but last night was not supposed to get down to 35 either. 39 was supposed to be the low. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I also got all of my grape and cherry tomatoes that were close or even partly trying to get there. I pulled some basil for tonight's dinner. And then these are our little Jack B. little pumpkins. I do have about 4 of them that are a little more on the yellow side, probably not quite ready yet. But that is about 13 pounds of Jack P. little pumpkins. So I'm pretty excited at that harvest. I didn't even think I could grow pumpkins here. So I think in the next couple of days I'm going to be pulling the rest of my green beans, my green peppers, and I'll take you along for those as well. All right, it's been a couple of days and we are back out in the garden to get some of our harvest off of here. We did get down to 35 again last night, even though it actually was not supposed to get into the 30s. So weather is not very accurate here. I have seriously looked into getting my own weather station for my own yard. You can buy them from Walmart or Amazon. So I am just getting green beans off of here today. I think I'm just going to go ahead and sacrifice these plants today. I'm just going to take them out. They are showing signs of stress, and we are not going to get any warmer. We're just going to get colder. So I think I'm just going to take everything, whether it's ready or not. I don't know. I haven't completely decided on these yet. It's always painful to make that decision on whether something is done producing or not. Kind of like the tomato the other day. I wasn't sure whether I wanted to take that plant out or not, but it only had 2 more tomatoes left on it. And those tomatoes were not ripening. It's just not warm enough for them. So yeah, I did make that decision, and you know, you just have to go with it. Once you make that decision, you got to be okay with it. So we're just going to pull as many of these green beans off of here as we can. And then I think I'm going to take the plants today and start cleaning out this bed and getting my strawberries ready for winter. So there aren't a lot left on here. I did get a big harvest of them a few days ago. I'll put that picture on the screen now. This actually was taking a lot longer than I had anticipated. It was really difficult to find the green beans. And I decided, since I'm just taking these plants out anyways, I might as well just take the plant out. I tipped it upside down, looked for any green beans that would come off, and then I'd pull them.
Next year I'm going to be trying some purple green beans. They're an amethyst variety. And so that will make it easier, I think, to harvest the green beans. They should be more visible. But I'm just clearing out this bed. You can see my strawberries and my chives are still in the bed.
So I want to show you here a prime example of what can happen when you have microclimates within a space. So both marigolds, basil, peppers, and tomatoes are very susceptible to frost. But you'll notice my marigolds aren't showing any signs of frost, nor are my peppers, but my basil is for sure showing signs. All those dark leaves, that's frost damage. And I don't see anything on the tomatoes yet, but like I showed you the other day, just one side of that plant had frost damage. So this is a great example of microclimates, and I have very little control over this. They're all in the same bed. It's a possibility that something is protecting them, but I don't even know what it is. So we're going to go ahead and harvest these peppers today. I think I'm going to pull out my basil. If there's anything on here I can save, I will take that and dehydrate it. And I think that's going to be it out of this bed. I don't want to take anything else out of here. The marigolds are still looking lovely. Now these aren't very big peppers, and I do know this, but I also know they're probably not going to get any bigger just because of the current temperatures during the daytime. I think I talked about this in the last part, that we're just not getting warm enough during the daytime and not enough sunlight hours. So 4 pretty decent sized peppers off of that plant. I'm going to go ahead and take my cage out. And I will till up these beds, stir them up, add some amendments. I did buy some manure the other day. So let's move on to the other pepper plants. Pretty good sized again. They'll make a decent meal. I am a little concerned with their sidewalls. We'll see how thick they are, but yeah, and this one's got a little bit of damage on it. Something punctured it at some point. And I've got this little itty bitty one here. My experience is when they're this little, they're kind of bitter. So I think, yeah, we'll just toss that one in the trash. But there's that plant. All right, this is my last pepper plant. And let's see if I can get this into the shot. I'm not sure. That is a pretty good sized pepper. If anybody knows in the comments what causes the darkening on a pepper, could you let me know? I had this a couple of times in the past where they just darken rather than turn red or get green. So I don't understand. So if you know, leave a comment for me.
This plant sits in the shade a little more than the other 2 plants that I had. And so the peppers that were on this one were not quite as big. They did turn out to be okay. The sidewalls were a little thin on some of them, but even this little tiny one right here, I used that in a pot of chili and it turned out just fine. We are finally getting to our potato harvest. I am so anxious to see what is going to be in these grow bags. I have never grown potatoes before. I grew the variety Elba this year, and I believe I started with a ½ pound of potato seeds. That is split between these 2 grow bags. This is the first one that I am cutting all the plants off right at the base. They had literally grown onto our patio and were blocking our entrance off and on our deck. I should have probably grabbed the tarp. I do eventually get the tarp out, but I'm kind of experimenting here. Like I said, this is my first time growing potatoes. I wasn't really sure what to expect. At first, I wasn't finding any, and then I found a couple. That got it a little more exciting, but the dirt was really, really hard to work through, and I kept scraping the sides of the potatoes, and of course, their new skins are very tender, and I was actually damaging the outsides of the potatoes. So I do eventually moved to the tarp method where you just dump it out and you kind of go through it. I did get a fair amount of potatoes from these, but I'm not sure that I will grow potatoes again. I didn't feel like the yield was good enough for what I had to go through. Also, these were 120-day potatoes, and I am lucky to have a growing season of 100 days. This year was especially lucky because we had extra days in that, but I don't think I will grow at least this variety of potatoes again. Along with bed maintenance and adding some amendments to some of the beds that I had just cleaned out, I also cleaned up the patio area here. We are starting to lose leaves on some of the trees, and it's just getting to the point where we need to clean up for winter. And so I'm quickly cleaning up the mess I made when I cleared out the potatoes, and I'm putting that into our pop-up bag as our composting bin is completely full.
Well, friends, this is our harvest from today. Along with the harvest we took the other day, I'd say the garden did pretty well. We did pull a bunch of potatoes. I have not measured or weighed them to see how many we got, but that is definitely over the, I think it was only half pound that I put into the ground. And then I got a whole bucket full of basil here that I need to deal with. I pulled any tomatoes that could possibly turn red within the next couple of days. All of our green peppers. Those are our hot and heavy peppers. Any cherry tomatoes. That's the last of the green beans. And then I also pulled some rosemary so that I can make some potatoes within the next couple of days. So that is our harvest, but I want to take you guys on a quick little tour of the garden. Well, friends, that's going to do it for this video. I did want to take you on a garden tour, but I looked at the clock. Time has gotten away from me today. I did not stop for lunch, and it is a little after 3 o'clock already. I am going to leave you with some photos of the yard and some of the beautiful leaves and changing colors that are happening. You can kind of see it in this tree right here. But guys, I am exhausted. It has been a very long weekend and I am filthy. I need to go shower and give myself some nourishment. So I appreciate you guys coming along with me over the last several days as we harvested from the garden, took most of the plants out. All I have left is some carrots and a few tomatoes. I do have some strawberries in the bed, but I'm kind of waiting for those to finish up what they're doing. They've still got a couple flowers on them. So I will be putting straw on those. And for those of you that are wondering where the garlic is, yeah, me too. I ordered that garlic well over a month ago and it still has not shipped. And luckily we've had a lot longer growing season than normal, but honestly, if this was a normal year, my ground would be frozen already. And so I'm a little irritated by the company I ordered it from. I will not mention their name, but hopefully that gets here soon and I can get those into the ground in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, I'll just leave you with some of those photos, and I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I'm going to go shower. Bye for now.